Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back to another fun and exciting episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy, and this episode I am very, very excited about. We have got the Director of Sales for Procter Gallagher, Melissa Posey, with us. She is also a success and a mindset coach. I have the privilege of working with her over at Procter Gallagher. She is absolutely amazing. It's one of the things that I was able to manifest this opportunity. It's one of the many things I've added to my plate, which I am just absolutely loving. So it is so exciting to be around just high vibrational people. And Melissa has just blown me away. And so when I asked her to do my podcast and she said yes, I was absolutely honored. This episode is going to be life-changing. I promise. She dives into what it was like to work directly with Bob Proctor. Many of you know him from The Secret, Think and Grow Rich, YouTube. He's everywhere. He is the mindset thinking into results guru. If you can think it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. That was his very, very powerful saying. But Melissa touches on not only what it was like to work with Bob, but also the importance of your goals matching your self-image. Okay. So many people have goals, but they need to be able to have the self-image to match in order to manifest those goals quicker. We talk about the importance of non-attachment. We talk about creating an abundant mindset. This is an amazing episode. I encourage you to re-listen to it, to have a pen and paper if you're at home and to take some notes. There's some exercises that Melissa gives that are absolutely amazing. You guys all deserve to have a great, amazing, abundant life, but it is all up to you. Our mindsets are everything. So I will stop talking because we need to get into this episode. It is absolutely amazing. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. All that stuff helps us keep generating these shows and these amazing episodes that are there to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. So we'll be right back after this brief message on Next to Madison.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I just wanted to remind you to make sure you grab a copy of my book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up. It is a great, funny self-help book that is going to help you get out of your own way. I have already helped thousands and thousands of people, and they are on their way to living their dream life, and I want every listener to be able to live their dream life as well. So grab a copy of the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or even the audiobook on Audible. Now back to the show. We are back with our amazing guest on this episode. I am so excited for this episode. It is going to be so inspiring, motivating. Make sure you listen to this episode all the way through. I have got Melissa Posey, who is the Director of Sales at Procter Gallagher, one of the largest institutions in personal development, with us today. She's a success and mindset coach, and she is dropping amazing information that is going to help change your life. So I'd like to welcome Melissa to the show. How are you?
Hi, Madison. I am great. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here with you and everyone. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here. So I want to know, your backstory is very interesting. So why don't you share with us that story and how you got to where you are now?
Sure. So it seems like a lifetime ago, I was a kindergarten teacher, and that's when I was married the first time. And when I found personal development, my world was changing. It was shifting in a huge way. I was changing careers. I wanted to change careers because I really wanted to earn more money. Yeah. And I wanted to have freedom. Freedom has always been high on my list. And of course, when we work for someone else, then we are, not free. We're having to be somewhere at a certain time. And I was also going to be going through a divorce and becoming a single mom. So at the time when I found personal development, and I was doing it on my own at the beginning, a lot of clients I talk to now, the same things that they're doing, it's what I was doing when I started. I mean, I listened to podcasts, I listened to YouTube, any kind of, free webinars I could get my hands on. That's what I was doing. And I knew I needed to make some big things happen because, again, in my life, there were some big changes that were going to be happening. Most of all, going through the divorce, I really wanted my kids to stay in the same house. that they grew up in, that was a top priority for them. So they were my why. They were my driving force. And personal development just, it came right in. It was like perfect timing. I needed to make some shifts and changes. And that's when I really started buying all the books and, listening to YouTube. And then I found Bob Proctor. Now, when I heard Bob, like something shifted in me, like I was hearing something a little different, and I really resonated with him. And that's when I did my first live stream with Proctor Gallagher. I mean, I was glued. I was transcribing. I was listening. And then Bob said, make the decision that next time you are going to be live in the room with us, because I was streaming from home in Denver, Colorado, and Bob was in Los Angeles. And as soon as I got done listening to that live stream, I bought myself a ticket so that I could go to LA for the very next event, which was very uncomfortable and scary at the same time. I didn't know anyone like that was going to be at the event. I had never spent that kind of money on myself to go live in a room. So it was really cool. I was actually jumping and making decisions, even though it was uncomfortable and kind of nerve-wracking at the same time. But something made me do it inside. Like something had me moving in a little different way, with urgency, making some bigger decisions than I had ever made. And that's really how things started for me, was, live in the room in a seminar. And then I decided to become a consultant and start my own business. So I transitioned from, working in kindergarten to running my own coaching business and coaching clients. And then I worked directly with Bob, which was amazing. He was my mentor for many years. So,
I mean, yeah, and that's amazing. So tell us more about what it was like working with Bob, because so many people obviously know who Bob is. If you don't know who Bob is, just Google him. He'll pop up. Many of you have read The Secret. It's a huge book. He had a big part to do with that. Think and Grow Rich, the movie. He was part of that. Mm-hmm. He is amazing. I'm so sad I never got to meet him. But what was it like just being able to work with him directly?
Amazing. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. It was such a gift. He so genuine, so caring. I mean, there's so many things that pop up into my mind. Like when you sat down with him, he was talking to you. It didn't matter what was going on around. He was just focused on you, and always, asking the right questions. He asked a ton of questions. Even when I would get him on the phone every once in a while with clients, it was always about him. People were so enamored to be on the phone with him, but he would just ask question after question. I mean, it was always about them. I mean, so giving, so wonderful. We had trainings where we would go to Toronto, and I mean, he would, take us out for amazing meals, and we would always get beautiful gifts. I mean, we got these beautiful binders and his favorite paper, pads of paper, and his favorite pens, like what he used, what he loved, he was always gifting to us. He would always make time for you. Like I said, so genuine with his time. Like if there was something going on and one of us needed to talk to him either about a client, or if we needed coaching or mentoring ourselves, he would drop whatever he was doing and he would, get on the phone. Wonderful, wonderful human being. Yeah.
I mean, amazing. He had just mastered abundance. I mean, his story is just absolutely amazing, and how giving he was, but that's abundance. It's you have to give to receive. Mm-hmm. And he was like the master of that.
61 years. He taught this material. He studied it himself. He applied it. He changed so many lives all over the world. And that's why we work with so many clients all over the world, is because he was so well known from the movie The Secret, from the seminars that he used to run, and the books that he wrote. Very well known because his material works. Like as soon as you step into Bob Proctor's material, like you'll be in one of the courses, and then you'll stick with, you know, a course at the Institute, because you will see that your life is going to change like night to day. That's when you do the work. Like the only way that that happens for you, why it happened for me, is because I did the work. I was in that space of, I knew I was going to be shifting because I was becoming a single mom and my income had to change. So I knew that I was going to have to do something different for my career. And I had to jump. I had to make a move. I had to make a decision. So doing all of that, like it jumps you in your results, in what it is that you're attracting in. But I had to do the work. I had to get uncomfortable. Like I had to keep going, even on the days where that little voice might be saying, you know, you don't have to do that, Melissa, you know, or like, you don't have time for that today. You know, whatever that little voice is that's talking to you, it wants you to stay where you're at. It doesn't want you to make any big moves or changes. We call that the paradigm. It's your belief system. And you constantly have to be not listening to that and letting your goals and desires and dreams drive you. And you've got to keep moving in that direction. So really looking back, that's all I did. I was a great student, and I followed direction because I felt like I had to, because I was looking at my two kids who, you know, were, again, my whole world, and why I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah, and that's amazing. So you mentioned the paradigm. For those of you who are familiar with Bob Proctor, you've heard him talk about the paradigm, but you explained what the paradigm was. But some people might be asking, you know, why does the paradigm want me to have a shitty life? Why does it want to keep me stuck? And what would be your response to that?
Yeah, it's the conditioning that we get. So we get that from genetics, so from mom and dad. We get that from the environment that we've grown up in, and we get that from emotional impacts that we've had, especially at a young age. When you get those emotional impacts in your life, when something else happens later in life, I mean, you can get triggered, and it's like, you know, I've done this before. I've attracted this before to come in. And if you're going to get emotionally involved in that, then you will attract something else that will give you just about that same kind of result. So it's conditioning. It's like we're wired like a computer. So it's not that it wants us to have a crappy life. It's that we are wired, and it's passed down from generation to generation. So what we have to do is we have to focus on changing that. We have to create those new neural pathways for success, abundance, for joy, for happiness, for living a life that we absolutely love. Now, when we don't give energy to the current circumstances, which is what most people do, they'll look at what's in their bank account and who's in their life, and, you know, their relationship that may not be where they want it to be at, or the job that they don't like. If you're continually focusing on that and getting emotionally involved in that, you will stay there. So that's why we have to work to not only have a goal, but, you know, there's certain things that Bob teaches that we've got to do in order to change our mindset, change how we're feeling, take different actions. And then that leads to different results, but we've got to work at it every single day. It's not like this is something that we do Monday through Friday. Like every single day, you know, I am studying, I am, you know, doing certain things. I'm listening to my audios. I'm always reading. I'm working on my self-image. Like there's certain things that I do every day that I've learned from Bob, that I've learned while I've been in this industry and coaching, that have worked. And I can, look at it for myself,
Yeah, you're proof.
how I've changed. Well, I'm proof, but then my clients that I work with too, it's amazing.
Yeah.
What we get to do is such a blessing, because people come to us in one place in their life and they want to make changes. They want to be better. They want to see improvements. They want to see quantum leaps.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that when they put in the work, when they do the work. And yeah, we are proof ourselves. But also, we have clients all over the world that are proof, and it's a blessing that we get to do what it is that we do here,
Oh,
because it
absolutely.
makes a difference.
Oh, it sure does. I mean, there's so, everyone's got a job or a title, but sometimes, I have a lot of Wall Street friends and they're like, I really don't do anything to make the world better. I like to collect the check, but a lot of them are very emotionally unfulfilled. But what you do and what I'm doing now with you is amazing, because no matter what, we make money, but we also get to impact people's lives in a positive way. So it's just great karma too.
It's so good. Like Bob always said, especially to our consultants that run their own business, he said, this is the best business in the world, because you're going to change your own life, because you're studying this material every day. You're working with people all over the world, helping them change their lives.
Yeah.
And the personal development industry is just skyrocketing every single year. I mean, it is jumping. People are finding out, like, it's just more, there's more and more out there information, and it feels like people are waking up
They
to,
are.
the fact that I can be, if I choose to be, in control of my life, rather than letting the outside control, which is, again, what, a lot of people do. But you have to be aware of this first. This information exists. And if you do those right things in a certain, excuse me, if you do those right things in a certain way, like you are going to shift and change your life exponentially.
Yeah, and it's true. Like when you get on a more positive vibration, it's just amazing the opportunities and the people you start attracting into your life. I know that was for me when I really like dove into this. Just the people that were showing up, the men that were showing up to try and date me were completely different from previous times. And it's amazing when you really kind of, have that good vibration. Just it's magic. It absolutely is magic. So you had mentioned self-image. I want to dive into this because this is a really big thing that Bob talked about. You talk about it a lot. So, people are saying, okay, I need to have confidence and I need to try to do what I can to look good. But self-image is more than just that. So why don't we dive into that topic?
I love self-image. It is one of my favorite topics. I remember several years ago I had a study routine going on, and my mentor messaged me. I remember it was on a Friday, and he was asking, Melissa, what are you studying? And I told him, and he said, I want you to drop everything and I want you to focus in on your self-image. Now, that wasn't easy for me to do because I had my routine going.
Yeah.
I loved what I was studying. However, this is why it's so important to have a mentor. Like, just out of the blue, I must have popped into his mind, and he said, I want you to focus in on, at least for the next 60 days, on your self-image. And so I trusted him. I dropped all my other study. And the self-image, it's how you feel about you. It is your self-confidence. It is your self-esteem. It is your self-worth. You have got to get clear on those characteristics that you've got to have. Write them out. That is my recommendation. Take the time and write it out. It is not a hard exercise, and it's not going to take you a lot of time. However, someone listening to this, I hope that they do take the time after the podcast is over to get pen to paper and say, I'm going to think about my self-image, and I'm going to write out those characteristics, how you want to walk and talk and present yourself. And, how do you speak in public? And the self-image has got to match what your goal is. That's very, very important. So before even getting clear on your self-image, you have to have a goal. And like in our mentoring program at the Institute, most people, when they come into our mentoring, they'll say they have a goal, but a lot of times they don't, or it's not worded properly, or it's not a goal that's going to stretch them. So again, you've got to have a goal. It's got to excite you. It's got to be a big goal. And then your self-image has to match what that goal is. So,
so give an example for people that may be like new to this whole self-development world. If they're sitting here listening saying, okay, so let's just use an example. They want to start their own skincare line. That's their goal.
Sure.
How should they start crafting and writing down their self-image to match that of a successful skincare line?
Sure. So with that goal, for one thing, I would recommend having an income goal that goes along with starting your own business and having your own skincare line. So think about what characteristics that person has to have. And if you're like, I have no idea what characteristics that person would have. Well, there are people that you can look up. You know, we have Google at our fingertips. You could absolutely look up, you know, successful business owners, look up someone. I know I've got a book back on my shelf somewhere there about Mary Kay. And it's a phenomenal book. She was a phenomenal lady. You know, something like that, look up, like if you were a woman, like look up successful women in business, look at how they present themselves. Like listen to, if there's a documentary or if there's, you know, some way you could get more, like listen to an interview from them, but look at how they present themselves. Like you can find out so much if you just stop and think, you know, what would someone that is owning, you know, earning this amount of money, running a successful business with their own skincare line, like how would that person be? How would they show up? Who would they have to become? Remember, it has to match what your goal is, your self-image does. And then once you come up with that, this is something that I recommend. I would write it out every single day. I would ingrain it as much as you can. Like when I was going through this years ago, I not only took the time and I wrote it out, but I went on my phone and there's really great recording apps. I have an iPhone, so it's called Voice Loop. And I said what my self-image was into the voice loop. It just continues to play over and over again. I would fall asleep to it at night. And like I would wake up in the morning and it was still playing. It was still playing in the morning. So I was like, that's perfect, you know, to reprogram myself all night long like that. But, you know, I don't do that all the time now. Yep.
What was that loop that you had, that voice thing that you had? Like, what was an example? Like, obviously it was in the present tense, like it had already happened. So was it, I am,
lots of I am statements. It was, they were almost all I am statements. You are right. In the present tense, of course, positive, like it has to be what it is that you want. Sometimes people will say like, you know, I don't want that. And really, like you want to use the opposite. Make sure that you're using what it is that you want in your statements. After you write it out and listen to it, if you don't have a clear picture in your mind, then you just know that you've got a little bit more work to do. Like by the time you get done writing your self-image, it should make you smile. You should feel so good about yourself. Yes, absolutely. In the present tense, all geared toward what it is that you want. And that's what you want to be reprogramming in as far as your new self-image, and it has to match what your goal is.
Yeah, that's so interesting because you always hear everybody talk about like, what are your goals or what are your resolutions if it's the end of the year? And people will tell you what their goals are, but you don't hear really ever that your goals have to be aligned with this new self-image to reach those goals, which is, I think, going to be an aha moment for people listening to this, because they're going to say, wait, okay, I have a goal, but wow, now I've got to really shift into that mindset and start walking, talking, waking up, thinking like the person that's already achieved that goal. I think that's definitely an aha moment for people. So you guys write that down and definitely make sure your goals are aligned with your self-image, because you had said, Bob always said, you can't go into this, how you can't outperform your self-image.
That's right. Yep. You can change it. And that's what Bob said. And that's what I'm suggesting. You take the time and do, with paper. And after you write it out, let me tell you, when I first started working on my self-image, I remember it was about 5 pages long. And this is when I first started working on it. And I shared that with Bob, and he said, "Oh, Melissa, that's way too long." He said, "Shorten it up." And I looked at it and I was like, well, there is a little bit of repeat in here. There's a little bit of fluff. I'll take that out. I worked on it a little bit every day. And how I worked on it was I would write it out. I would put on some nice, music in the background. I love listening to binaural beats. I love my coffee. So I would sit in the morning and I would rewrite that self-image out. And it seemed like it just shaped itself over time as I did the writing, because I may come up to a sentence and I might be like, well, now I'm doing that. It's already become part of me. So then I don't need to be continually focusing on including that here in my self-image, because it's become a part of me. So then I would take it out. And, sometimes I would kind of condense. I had fun with it. I really had fun with recreating this self-image. So again, that's why I was writing it out all the time. And that's why I would loop it and listen to it. And sometimes in the morning, when I would be re-listening to that, I would pick up and I'd be like, I feel like my energy is different in my voice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to speak it again, because I feel like my energy is even different from the last time that I recorded it. Or I'll take a sentence out. And that took me about 2 months. It took me about 2 months where I got to a self-image that was about 3/4 of a page. It was dynamite. It was direct. It made me smile. It was powerful. It matched my goal. That didn't happen overnight. Like I said, the first self-image that I wrote was 5 pages long. So it took me writing it and crafting it and listening to it and having fun with it. And then, of course, as soon as you achieve your goal, then it's time to create a new self-image.
That's true.
but like you said, which was just so good, is that it has to be implemented. It has to match what your goal is. And you have to take action on it. I'll share with you something that's popping into my mind. When I first was looking at who I surrounded myself with and how I was dressing and all that, when I realized that that was part of my self-image, that weekend, I went up to my closet and I just cleaned out my closet. I put stuff in bags, hauled it out. If it did not match my self-image,
I love that.
Then I got rid of it. And then, my husband and I, we have 2 friends that they are busy people. They are really making it happen. And we were like, we want to get together with them and see, what's going on, and, just be with them, be in their energy, have fun, and go out to dinner. So as soon as I got that exercise about the self-image, I sent out a message to them and I'm like, hey, let's, plan a weekend. And we went up to the mountains and, just had a wonderful time with them. That changes your vibration too. Who you surround yourself with, who you're masterminding with, how you're talking, how you're dressing, all of it. It all is the self-image. So you've got to be aware that everything that you're doing, how you're coming off, is leading back to what it is that you're attracting in. That's why the self-image is so, so important. And that's what I did. Again, several years ago. I've never stopped studying the self-image. It looks a little different. I write a lot of statements in my journals. I still write a lot of I am statements, and, they match my goals. So I'm going there in my mind, not only visualizing, but looking at my self-talk. And, part of that is around my goal and around the self-image. Those are the kind of things that I do to get myself into that different vibration, which has me attracting in different. You just mentioned, with this work, how you can see that you've attracted in differently.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing what we're talking about here, your life is going to change.
Oh, absolutely. But I love that wardrobe piece too. And you guys think about it this way, right? So if you wanted to simplify, okay, how am I going to have fun with this self-image? So you have your goal. Think about that you're creating a dream character in an Oscar-winning movie, and that movie is your life. So you get to form this character and shape this character any which way you choose with that goal aligned. So think of it like that way. It's almost, because, I do writing, a script writer, and you're always developing these characters, and you get to know these characters and you fall in love with these characters. You're creating kind of a new character for yourself.
Beautiful.
Which is fun, right?
Well, it's so fun. Yeah. I mean, you never want to look at this as like homework or, Madison and Melissa were talking about this exercise and now I got to go do this exercise. Like, you don't want to go into it with that energy. This is creating your life. And, the example that you just gave, remember, for all of you listening, you are the star of your own movie. Too many times we take the back seat and you think of yourself as a supporting actor or actress in some way, and whatever happens, you're just going to go with it. It's not the case. Like, you are the star of your own show. You are the only one that gets to decide and create a goal and create a self-image that's worthy of you, and do the visualizing, be grateful in advance for what it is that you're creating. Like, we've got to get you up onto that higher frequency. And all these things that we're talking about and I'm listing off, it'll do it, but you have to be aware. You've got to put work in every day to think differently.
Yeah. And I think it's like when you start doing this work, you do become more self-aware, and self-aware is key because we're still human. So we're going to naturally have negative emotions and experience sadness and experience frustration. Those are normal, but it's being aware of those thoughts and then maybe where they're coming from, that maybe you still need work. And that's what I do. If something comes up for me, and I'll pay attention, like what caused it, why am I feeling this way? And then I'll immediately shift out of it. But I also recognize, okay, that's still an area I need to work on. There's something still that's not quite 100% here. But yeah, it is so key. But I love that self-image thing because I seriously, as I said before, people have goals, but I don't think the majority of our population even knew that you had to have a self-image that aligned with those goals. So brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
It has to align, right? Otherwise, you're waking up every day, kind of walking, talking, dressing, like doing the same old, but yet you're writing out in the morning when you're writing your goal that you're a successful business owner, owning your own skincare line, earning this amount of money. Like, they don't line up, right? If you're still continuing with those same habits and perceptions and attitudes, but yet you're writing what your goal is, like, there's a gap there. So what we want to do with these exercises and getting you to think different, which is getting you to feel different and taking different actions, which has you creating different results in your life. Like, we want to make that gap smaller. So you have to have a goal, have to. And I love that you mentioned, New Year's resolutions, because look up the success rate of New Year's resolutions. By the second week in January, like 70 or 80% of people are already off their New Year's resolution. They do not work. And why would you even want to wait until January? Like, you don't want to wait that long. You have to decide, like, today. You have to make a decision. And I'm going to get clear on my goal. You know, these are the things that I'm going to do. And you have to start doing them right away. Because the paradigm, our belief system, it wants us to keep pushing it off and say, I'll do it later. Like, you don't have time for this. And like, I'll do it when this happens. This is where decision is so key. And it's part of what Bob teaches. Like, you have to make a decision the day that you listen to this. You know, I'm going to do something. I'm going to take some kind of action. You know, I like that cleaning out the closet thing. I've been meaning to do that anyway. So go do that. Or call up some, you know, people that you like to spend time with, some friends that are really making things happen, that you've been meaning to contact and want to go hang out with. Like, do something when you listen to this. You just don't want it to be a great, you know, session that you listen to with Melissa and Madison. I mean, it could be that for you, but your life is not going to change. You have to take some action and decide, like, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes people don't know what the first steps are, and they really don't know. And that's why we have people join us in programs. That's why people take our year-long course and, you know, start their own consulting, coaching business and become a consultant. Because what Bob did for 61 years is put together the best material and a system that works. So if you're not sure what to do or the first step to take, like, that's why you want a mentor. A mentor can see your blind spots. And that's what happened to me that day when I, you know, took that suggestion when he said, drop everything you're doing, Melissa. I want you to focus in on the self-image. He obviously saw a gap, and I did what he suggested.
And it was life-changing for you.
Life-changing. My results changed. Everything that I was attracting in was different. And that's the cool part, when you can look back and be like, you know, when I started doing this, look at all the things that changed for me in my business. And, you know, this is what I get to work with every day with clients when they will say, you know, since I've started coaching and took the program with Bob, I mean, my whole world is changing in all areas. That's what we get to hear about day in and day out when you decide and start doing the work.
Yeah, and it is great. And also, like, you know, along that line of self-image, it's so important that I think you're eating the right foods, you're working out, you know, or at least doing some activity every day, because, you know, how you look and how you feel, like, it all kind of correlates. So definitely make sure that health is a critical part of your journey, just for your overall lifespan, but especially for your self-image.
Well, that, you know what, that is the self-image. The self-image, it's also, like you just said, it's how you treat yourself. If you're not treating yourself very well, then you don't value yourself.
True.
And that is huge. I remember we were having a training in Scottsdale, and Bob was there, and I sat down with Bob, and we were going to talk numbers, you know. So it's like, you know, get ready. You're sitting down one-on-one with Bob and you're talking numbers. So I was prepared. I was ready. And I sat down, and the first thing he said to me was, he goes, Melissa, tell me the great things that you're doing for yourself. He goes, I want to know what you're doing for yourself. Now, you know, I was ready to talk numbers. We were at a training. And the first thing he asked was, what are you doing good for yourself? So I told him all the things that I love to do. I said, I love massages. I do love to get my nails done. He said, you've got to keep doing those things every single week. Make sure that you're doing something great for yourself. And I remember leaving that training and just thinking, how cool was that? Like, I mean, we did talk about the numbers, but that goes back to the first question that you asked me about Bob, like what kind of a person he was. Like, he wanted to make sure that his team, those of us, that worked with him, we were taking good care of ourselves, good care of our bodies, great care of our minds. And that is part of it. I mean, what we're eating and sleeping and the relationships that we're involved in and how we're presenting ourselves. Again, when it all matches up to the goal, then you are going to have that goal be fulfilled. It is done because you're doing all the right things to be in that vibration, the harmony of the goal being done.
Yeah. Amen. I love it. I love it. Okay. So now I want to shift into, I mean, it's kind of on the same thing, but I want to talk about, for people that may be listening and say, okay, this is all great. This is all great. But how do I like create an abundant mindset? But the key, how do you stay there? Because it's all part of your self-image. So you're working on your self-image. You've got your goals. You're starting to change. You're in that abundant mindset, but there's a lot of negative noise out there in our world. So how do you like really kind of tune that out and stay in that mindset? So let's start with how we create it, and then we'll go into how you stay in it.
Well, I think, what's coming up first and foremost for me is pretty much what we've been talking about since we started. I mean, you have to have a goal. Clarity is key. Like it can't be general. Like you have to know what you want. Your goal has to be clear. If it's not, then you have no idea what you're going to be attracting in. I have a great story. Maybe some of you have heard it about Sandy. She wanted, I'm talking about Sandy Gallagher now. She wanted a house on the lake or on the ocean. She wanted to be on the water, and she was putting it out there very general that she wanted to be on the water. Well, she ended up getting this house, and she said, I mean, she was so close to the water. She could hear the waves crashing. She said it was super short. It was like hard to even walk around in. She said that the windows were always having, water splashed up on there. Like she was really like close to the water. Now she wanted a house on the water. However, she wasn't clear in what she wanted. And so she got what she wanted, but yet that was proof, like I need to get clearer on what I want. So she wasn't, to my understanding, she was not in that place for very long because it was driving her a little bit crazy. And, now she has this beautiful big house where she's currently living. That pops up into my mind because if we aren't clear, if we aren't putting out there what it is that we want, like we're not going to get a clear picture back because everything's created in our mind first and then in our physical reality second. So make sure, back to your question about, living abundantly and an abundant life and lifestyle, like you have to know what that looks like. And then, like we were just talking about affirmations, you want to reprogram yourself. You want to have current statements, like in the present tense. You want to use I am statements. Use that around abundance and prosperity. Most people, and our parents, they did the best that they could, but most people are coming from lack, limitation, and scarcity. So we've got to work again to create that abundance and prosperity. So use the I am statements, get yourself the looping app so that you can put those statements, on your phone and listen to them. Have pen and paper. I have so many journals, I can't even tell you. I write out my goal in the morning. I'm writing out my I am statements. I do my visioning, like I write it out. And I love meditation. I love to get quiet. Like amazing things happen when I come out of meditation. I just have the best ideas. Being grateful too, being grateful in advance, being grateful for the little things that are going on in your life right now, like that vibration of gratitude and abundance and love. It is the highest vibration. And when you focus there, when you are grateful in advance for these things happening in your life and for the little things and the big things that are happening in your life currently, you will attract more of that. What you focus on will expand.
Yes.
So, gratitude is a way that you really want to create that abundant life for yourself. And then you got to take action. Like, action is another key piece. Like, you can't just sit at home and be thinking about it and like not do anything and, sit on the couch and just hope it's going to come knocking at your door. Like, when you get those inspired ideas, and when you're thinking about your goal and when it brings a smile to your face and you're doing the things that we've been talking about while we've been together here, those inspired ideas, they are going to come to you. They will flow in. Sometimes I have clients say, Melissa, I know I need to take the action, but I'm not sure what actions to take. And like, I know I'm not taking enough action. Well, you have to relax about it, for one thing. And when you're in the energy of thinking about your goal, the inspired ideas come. Like, they will flow in, and then you want to take action on those. And then one action and one conversation, whatever happens, like, you just keep taking the next step and you just keep going, and it will be uncomfortable, but I tell you, you keep going and you'll look back and connect the dots, and it will be just incredible to see how far you can come in changing your life when you make the decision. Again, back to it all starts with the decision.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then how do they, if they're getting like distracted or there's outside noises, how do they do you have any tips and tricks to kind of block out the negativity that's around all of us? I mean, I stopped watching the news. That was a big thing, unless it was like related to the markets or kind of major events. I just really shut it off. That was a big shift for me as far as keeping positive.
Yeah. Well, in order for us to stay on track here, and it's part of what Bob talked about a lot, to have accountability keeps you on track. So like in our mentoring program, for example, accountability coaching is built in. Like, you have an accountability coach because she's going to keep you on track and make sure that you keep going. Like, Bob's going to stretch you and give you the information and teach you about repetition and how to study. And the accountability coach makes sure that you keep going. Like, that's a big deal for people, because most people will start something. Like, we talked about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
And they'll do something for a week or two. And it seems like right around the 3-week mark is when a lot of people are back to their normal habits and patterns. It's very common. So the two things that are coming up, you have to make a decision for one thing. Like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. Every single day, you've got to recommit to that decision and just focus on that day. Don't go, months down the road. Just focus on today, and you're sticking to it today. And then another recommendation would be to have an accountability partner, have someone that you can, check in with, and you can hold each other accountable. It's too easy to stop if you are not held accountable.
Yeah.
Because one day you could just stop doing it and no one would know. But if you have an accountability, you're more likely to stay on track.
No, it's very true. And that's why I think a lot of people will get excited and they'll get into self-study programs or they'll pick up a book, but it doesn't stick because they don't commit to it. And you can't, like going to the gym, you can't just say, I want to change my whole body and show up for a week straight and then not go for another month. Like, you've really got to, kind of treat it like that. So, before we wrap up here, I just want to touch on the fact, you have a sign behind you that I love called Let, which is about letting it go, which is the whole, when you're manifesting and you want things to come in, and we talk about this a lot, letting things go, but also let's talk about non-attachment and why that's so important in everything you do, especially manifesting your desires.
Well, the universe, this is what I've learned over time, the universe, universal energy, universal power, whatever you want to call it, or whatever resonates with you. it is so strong. It knows way better than you of how to get to that end result that's going to be better than you can imagine.
Yeah.
So if you can focus on, that what it is that you want, that goal being done, and get into the feeling of it, that's your job. And like let the rest happen. Things that come in that we think, may not be serving us well, there's a lesson in there. I'll tell you,
Mhm.
like, I would look for the lesson. But letting things go and not staying focused on the current results happening. I'll tell you, the current results that are happening now, that is your past thinking that's showing up. And so only you get to decide whether the next day you're going to go in with your new thinking and come from the place of your goal being done, or be looking at the current circumstances. That's why most people keep getting what they're getting for years on end. So you absolutely want to let go. You don't want to be attached, because you may think your way is the best way, but I'll tell you from experience, like, there's a lot faster, better way to get to where you want to go if you just really relax into it. And again, like, do a lot of what we said today, because it will change your thinking. It will change what you're attracting in.
Mhm.
But I would not be attached to what you think is the best,
Yeah.
fastest way, because it's probably not. And there's so many different ways to help you get to where you want to go. You want to have the kind of energy and attitude of like, this is going to be really fun to see how it's going to come in, how it's all going to unfold.
Yes.
That's the kind of attitude you want to have every day, just waking up, excuse me, of like, what a great day, and just looking forward to the day and knowing it's going to be the best day and I'm going to be at my best today, that kind of, and great, being grateful, like what we talked about,
Yeah.
just those few things is going to change your day.
Oh,
And
100%. I loved what you said though, when get excited about letting the universe show you how it's going to happen and not knowing, because like that makes it more fun. So if you have this goal and you're saying, okay, I'm going to make X amount per month, or I'm going to land this dream job, or I'm going to manifest this person, like that's the exciting part, is the non-attachment of like, I can't wait to see how this is going to unfold. And that's
that's
such
right.
a different spin on the same thing, but
Mhm.
I think it makes it more fun for people. So you guys, this is what you need to be doing. Definitely be like, show me how great it can be, and be excited, because that's that higher
Mhm.
vibration for sure. Okay, you've been amazing. Where can people find you? Because everyone's going to want to follow you and get to know you even more. So where do you want to direct your socials, everything?
Well, so I am on Instagram, and it's Mel Posey, and my picture is there. I'm on Facebook. I have a coaching success closed Facebook group that you can go and, ask to be a part of. And then we're doing our live events every month. So if you're going to follow Proctor Gallagher, I recommend that as well, because you'll see new videos that are coming out with Sandy and when our next events are going to be. So I would say Instagram for sure.
Okay.
And follow Proctor Gallagher on YouTube. And if you go to Proctor Gallagher, you're going to see when our next event is. You can put in your information, and then you're going to get emails that are going to lead you right to the dates and times. And, you'll see more of Sandy and, Bob and our team, and really get into this energy and get some really good, tools and resources to be using. This is the energy that you want to be in, with, people that are making it happen and that can help you get to the next level.
Yeah, no, it's so well said. I'm in New York, so I apologize for the siren that's going on. Every day it's like an emergency. I'm like, okay, I'm awake.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But no, it's so true. You guys definitely go and check that out. And remember, like, all the results and what's happening in your life, whether you like it or not, is a result of your thinking and your
Mhm.
mindset and your self-image, as Melissa described. So definitely, I
That's
hope
right.
this was motivating and inspirational, and all of you deserve an abundant, amazing life.
but you have to take action and you have to go create it because it is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely possible. So Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you everybody who's listening wherever you may be. And we will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.